Dr. Phill, he's about to teach you some games. He'll Dr. Phill your mind with knowledge. He'll Dr. Phill your heart with pain. Dr. Phill is the man down at Miami U. Dr. Phil's about to teach some games to you.
Okay, everyone, this is going to be an interesting moment here because I'm going to tape myself playing a phone game, which means I'm going to be looking down, and you're not going to, I guess, I could hold my phone up, and you could see my phone. That would be really silly. I am going to play a little bit of the game Clash Royale, and then I'm going to walk you through this esports genre analysis assignment using it as an example. So if you've seen it played before, you don't have to watch my terrible out of touch play here. I haven't played in about 7 months. I used this in one of my 211 classes last semester. So let's see if I even remember how to play. The goal, as you can see, is kind of tower defense. In the most general sense of the word, you have 2 mini towers and a king tower, and your goal is to destroy the other person's king tower before they destroy yours. And so there's an elixir at the bottom that works the way mana works in most games. You have a card mechanic, which determines the minions that can appear down here that you can then play. And then you kind of go wild like this and try to destroy the other team. So as I mentioned, I haven't played for a long time, so it's kind of been a motif with a lot of the games that I've covered in classes so far this semester, if you're in other classes with me. If I do Animal Crossing later, I'll be able to talk about a game that I've played a lot of, but I have not played a lot of most games for a while. It's been an interesting patch of time. As you can see, I've nearly destroyed this first tower, and my opponent is about to inflict some serious damage because I got greedy there and did not bring enough defense. Now I'm going to bring this dragon in and clean up, but I took a lot of damage there. That giant's going to hurt too. But you can see one of the best strategies to use is to clear a path, which I cleared a path, and he is now in the process of destroying my tower to clear his path, and then to follow that path to the center to attack the king tower, which has its own little cannon there. These barrels are one of the best ways to get a distance attack because there's some goblins inside of them. He just released a really powerful minion over here. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm going to drop this rage to try to pump my guys up and get through this. Okay, he got my tower there. So you can see matches don't last very long. We have 31 seconds left in this match. I am probably going to die in the next 31 seconds. Also, weird email about rubrics popped up there. That's the hazard of playing on the phone. I probably should have closed my email. I'm going to try to go all in and see if I can get him in 10 seconds. I don't think I can. Ooh, maybe I can. No, not enough there. Oh, so close. He's getting close on me, though. Let's hope for the best with this bucket of goblins. He's got an enemy back there. Let's try dropping a dragon here. You can see I am probably going to lose, but there's always a slight chance one of these tricks will work. Oh, I got him. So there, that is a single match of Clash Royale. So if you've never seen it, that's what it looks like. And I'm going to show you just quickly, I'm not going to rate it, I'm going to show you just quickly how they make their money on their freemium. They have Pass Royale, which $5. It's one of those passes that most games that have passes throw up on you there. can see I pressed the wrong arrow to get out of it. Ooh, free pouch of gold. Take that. There's lots of stuff you can buy in the shop. There's 2 different kinds of currency, like a lot of the games that are made this way. So that's pretty much the way that works. So I am now going to put that aside, turn off my phone app here, and talk to you a little bit about this assignment. So what you're going to do here is put together a report that answers a series of questions. And there's a list of potential genres up there. So these are the questions you want to answer, and you're going to want to answer them with more detail than I'm doing in this video because I'm just giving you an example to see how this would work. I don't want to do the full assignment because that would take a lot of time and you'd have to watch it all. So the first thing you want to do is talk about what is the historical origin of the genre, first appearance, who designed it, why, as much of that as you can figure out. The second thing you want to do is talk about what is the most popular and well-known example of the genre, why is it the most popular, what is the newest example, what platforms is it most popular on, why is it most popular on those particular platforms, where do people compete, how often, is it really high stakes, for example, are there world championships, is there a professional scene for it? Where is the professional scene most prevalent? Is there a collegiate scene? Who is the most popular player in this particular genre? What's the future outlook for it? Is it growing? Is it staying still? Is it starting to stagnate? And then what's one thing all these questions didn't cover that you'd like to tell us about your genre? And so the first thing you have to figure out if you were going to do the game I just showed you is what genre is Clash Royale? And I'm going to show you something that probably all of you would have thought of ahead of time, but a great way to start on this assignment, I know teachers don't tell you to do this, is to go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia refers to this as a real-time strategy game. I'm not sure that I agree that this is a real-time strategy game, but that's not a bad place to start. A second thing you could call it is a tower defense game, if you wanted to talk about it that way. You could try to refer to it as a card game because there's a card collecting element to it. Those probably somewhere in those 3. What I would do if I were doing this as my assignment is I would refer to this as its own genre, and I would call it a combining of real-time strategy elements, card collecting and deck building elements, and then tower defense. So then I would say that the genre has existed since 2016, since this was the first game to launch this way. And that would be my answer to the first question. And I would walk through how this is where you would do the writing part that I'm not going to do right now because I'm doing a quick example, but you'd want to explain how the cards work, how you build your deck, how many cards go in the deck, how you spend the cards from the mana, what the towers are for, how you defend the towers, why it's like real-time strategy, etc. You could also, if you wanted to, try to label this as an auto battler MOBA, which would be kind of a fun thing to try to play with. But that's kind of the adventure of choosing a game like this, which is also one I figured none of you would pick, is trying to determine what you would actually call the genre that it exists in. Most of you will have a much easier answer to the what is the genre question. So once you cover that, you're going to get your date of release. If you go through here, this Wikipedia page is going to give you a lot of information that you need. For example, it tells you about Clash Royale League, which is where you can find out that there have been championships, that there have been really large prizes for those championships, $1 million in prize money for the World Championship in 2018. You can see it went down in 19. But there are professional players. If you wanted to find out who those people are, you could Google them. And it looks like Sergio Ramos is the highest paid. And then you could be like, oh, wow, here's a video of him playing. So you could see, you could watch this video, see him in action if you wanted to. You can see the way most people stream these games because it's vertical. You notice I had it sitting next to the assignment while I was talking through it. It's not easy to figure out the best way to stream a mobile game that sits vertically like that. So it's an interesting thing to think through. And if you're in the streaming class, you'll get to see me talk more about that later in the semester. It can be a little rough. So if you look back at our assignment, which is back here, We talk through the historical origin of this genre because we're kind of constructing it as we go. The most popular example of this genre, obviously, is still Clash Royale. It's one of the few games that exist here. All the other ones are kind of derivative from it. Newest example, you could go to the App Store and see what the newest example is. Platforms, these games are almost exclusively on mobile. There are some that play in browser windows. I have yet to see a console one, although it wouldn't surprise me if there's one somewhere on the Switch store that someone has created. I have not seen it on like PS4 or Xbox. Where do people compete? The interesting thing about this question is Clash Royale is primarily a mobile game. I mean, it's almost exclusively a mobile game. And so most people who play mobile games play them just on their phones when they're out and about. So the player base versus the competitive base for this game is going to be very different. One of the things that happens when you see competitive players, and I'm going to hold my phone up for a second. You can see I'm not connected to anything. I'm just using my phone like a phone. There are Ethernet adapters, and if you're a pro player, you're going to want an Ethernet adapter on your phone so that your network doesn't fall off while you're playing. That could be really important. So, interestingly enough, professionals at this game tend to not be in the United States. Those of you who are from Korea or from China know that this game is much more popular competitively in Korea, China, and parts of Eastern Europe. It's not really a super competitive game in the States, although we do have some pros on a few teams. There is, to my knowledge, no collegiate scene in Clash Royale. For you, figuring out information about a collegiate scene will require some research, but I'm in a weird position in that I'm one of the, not to brag on myself, but I'm one of the experts on collegiate esports, and I have never seen anyone playing this on the collegiate level, at least not in the United States. There's some club play overseas, but not a lot. I can just kind of use my ethos to say I know the answer to number 7 and go on. Most popular player, we just popped him up on the screen. I believe his name was Sergio Ramos. We could talk a little bit more about him. The future outlook, this is where you need to do some research. I can tell you from what I've seen with prize pools that Clash Royale itself is not growing. It's not falling off massively. The prize pool is split in half, but that's just the way esports prize pools tend to fluctuate when you're not one of the big games. But I would say right now there's a plateau for this game. It is potentially stagnating, but mobile games still seem to be growing at a large rate. So it kind of depends on whether you're looking at the future outlook as a major esports title or the future outlook of the game. As an esports title, I think it's probably reached its highest potential and it's not likely to go much further. As a game, however, I think it kind of runs in ebbs and flows. And I think that with COVID and with more people playing games because they're stuck in places, it's seen a little bit of a bump. And it could potentially see more of a bump, but it's hard really to predict with mobile games. When nothing major fills the space, old mobile games pick up a little bit of steam, particularly when they have really big updates. That's one thing Supercell could do. If they added another major piece to their game, they could bump it back up to the top of the charts for the while. But when new games come out, they tend to displace old games pretty quickly. And unlike other gaming genres, for example, if you look at MMORPGs, which we'll talk a little bit about this semester, World of Warcraft has stayed on top for a long time because of the investment that people have in it, the time they've put in, the money they've spent. You have to be good enough to displace World of Warcraft in order to be the next big thing in that genre. With mobile games, people don't seem to view their investments quite the same way. You don't see a person talking about spending hundreds of dollars on in app purchases so they won't leave a game behind. It's interesting psychologically. I'd love to see someone do a study on that, but based anecdotally on the research I have done, I haven't actually formalized it. It's just been one of the side things I have looked at as I've looked at people who play professionally. It seems like people will put money into a mobile game and not feel anywhere near the same sense of connection to it that they do for, say, a PC game or a console game. So that's an interesting thing to think about. And then the last thing, what I would cover here if I were going to write this report is I would show you all, and I will show you at some point in class, what the World Championships for Clash Royale look like, because it's much bigger than I would imagine any of you would think. There is a giant stadium and they project the entire battlefield on the floor. So there's like a full size real Clash Royale battlefield, and they built the king towers at the end, and so the competitors climb up onto the king tower podiums and play from there. And so there's a huge projection of their game here, but there's also a projection of it on the floor. And it's like the size of a hockey arena, and the stands are full, which I think is something that most people probably wouldn't anticipate about a game like this. So that's how you would go through this assignment. If I were writing down everything I just said, I would probably get a C, maybe a low C, because I don't know that I actually answered all the questions completely. But you could easily, I'll talk about how you could get these extra points. So you could answer all of the questions and go with exceptional responses. So for example, I would say my explanation of the collegiate scene thing was pretty good if I detailed a little more. Doing an in-depth overview of this character, this player, this Sergio Ramos, we could do a good job there by adding some more info there. I think I did a decent job with this answer. If you dig a little more into it, like if you could find the statistics to go with what I was saying there, which I could if I just opened enough windows and looked. I actually checked into it about 3 months ago, so that would have been just after the March COVID bump. But if you want to take a look at what the numbers look like to justify that, that would be a way to elevate that. Then to illustrate above and beyond, I would say for what I would do here is I would detail this thing not covered. I would do like a really just an in-depth explanation of what the World Championship looks like and how involved players are. So that would be a way to get all those points. So the other thing I want to do, because I zipped through this real fast, is I'm going to go back up here. I have 11 genres listed here. I kind of did tower defense as my example. I doubt any of you will choose it unless one of you is huge on tower defense games. But these are the usual suspects for esports genres. You have real-time strategy or RTS. These aren't played as much anymore, but were foundational. Next week, you're going to play StarCraft 2. So you'll get a good look at real-time strategy face-to-face. MOBA, which is a multiplayer online battle arena. This would be your League of Legends, Dota 2, Here's the Storm's Kind of Dead, Honor of Kings, if any of you play Honor of Kings, or Arena of Valor in the United States. There have been some others, obviously. First-person shooters, this covers a wide range of games from Call of Duty and CSGO to Overwatch and Valorant. You could also subdivide that into squad-based shooters, which are things like Rainbow Six Siege, or again, to bring up Overwatch, where the individual characters have different criteria. So part of the strategy includes the people that you pick versus a game like CSGO, where you just all have the same basic skill set. Next up, we have massively multiplayer online role-playing games, or MMORPGs. The primary example of this is World of Warcraft. Not as big on the esports scene as it was, but with the Epic Dungeon runs a few years ago, they kind of rejuvenated at least the competitive level of it. I don't know that there's anywhere near as much money being made. Certainly there isn't on like a global scale, but they probably make as much on the BlizzCon championships as almost any other game. So Battle Royale, which is now the second newest genre to join the fray here. This would be games like Apex Legends, Fortnite, of course. I always forget PUBG. PUBG is important. PUBG was actually the first really major battle royale to hit the United States. Fighting games, in the fighting game genre, you have 2D fighting games, you have 2.5D, which I did a list here, which is 3D graphics on a 2D axis, and then 3D. So this would be anything from your Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, on to like a Tekken would be your 3D. And of course you have your brawler games like Super Smash Brothers or Brawlhalla. So all those would be encompassed in fighting games. Racing, which is not huge in the United States as an esport, which is weird because the Formula One esports scene is really large, but racing is out there. Sports sims, this would be your NBA 2K, your Madden, FIFA. There isn't really any baseball. I mean, there isn't really an MLB The Show league, which is interesting. You would think there would be. There's a little bit of NHL, not a whole lot. Some of these are much more popular outside of the U.S. I split racing out of sports sims because you do have the like NASCAR games that are more sportsy, but you also have games like Forza, and so yeah, racing, sports sims. Competitive card games, that would be stuff like Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra. There are some others too. tower defense, the example I would pull up for tower defense would be Clash Royale, but there are some others as well. And then auto chess or auto battler is the newest genre, and it's over a year old now, so calling it new is probably a little weird. But if you have played Teamfight Tactics through the League of Legends client, if you've played Dota Underlords, which is the Dota one, the original auto chess was built as a mod for Dota 2, but they also have their own freestanding game now called auto chess. And there are some other auto battlers out there, but that is probably the newest. And if you're interested in looking at something that's still developing, that would be the way to go. All right, so that's an example of how to do that assignment. I know I went through it quick, but again, I'm trying to get you the information as quickly as possible. And even me doing it quickly, this video is over 20 minutes. So you can imagine how long it would be if I gave you long, like full assignment quality answers for all of those. But if you have questions as you're working on this, just let me know. You know where to find me. Otherwise, I will look forward to seeing all of you in class soon. And I hope that you are enjoying the semester so far. Thanks, and play some Clash Royale.
He'll Dr. Phill your mind with knowledge. He'll Dr. Phill your heart with pain.